Hello lovely friends, how are you all doing? I hope you're well. Excuse that alarm, but also, excuse me, I'm going to get on while we chat because, oh my goodness, time has been so pressured recently. You know, it's fine, I'm getting stuff done, and I've had a really good crack at the garden, as hopefully you will have seen with the, I was going to say September tour. My goodness gracious me, time is whizzing. And at the end of August, I didn't actually do a thoughts on for month 52. Amazing. So this isn't a formal, am I too noisy? I'll try and be quiet with my washing up. The thing is, I need to get all this washing up done. I'll tell you two things now with the washing up. Normal dishes away, then I need to wash some beautiful new crockery. I say new, it isn't new. It's about, let's see, about 50, 60, it's about 70 years old, the crockery I'm about to wash up. Since lockdown and all that has eased, I'm back to going to auctions and various sales to try and find lovely bits to put in my shop online. I couldn't resist this set of crockery. I got it for an absolute steal. And the reason I got it is with the crockery I've got, like plates, bowls, what have you, I've got about 3 of everything, and that's it. Now, for the most part, every day, that's enough for me. And then throughout the whole of the last 18 months, if I'm having my social bubble with Richard and Paul, I've still got enough. There's 3 of everything. I can actually feed them with the clean food on a clean plate. It's enough. But that's all I've got, and I'm hoping, one of the things I really, really hope when I move house and I move to a ground floor flat and, you know, life changes a bit, lockdown changes, all of that, I'm hoping to be able to start having friends over more often, or not necessarily more often, but more friends over to feed them. I love, love, love to feed people. I'm not a great cook, I'm not a chef, I'm not any of that. I do very simple peasant food, but I do it in big quantities, it's tasty, it's hearty. Whenever someone comes to my flat, they seem to enjoy my food. So I'd like to get into that again when I move to the ground floor. But I don't have much crockery. So I went to an auction the other day, ostensibly to find things for the shop. This came up, there were no bids on it. I got it. Hang on a second. Can you see? It's about 5 dinner plates, 5 supper plates, 4, oh clunk clunk clunk, 4, is it 4? No, 3 side plates. It's incomplete, obviously. 3 side plates, a little serving dish, a serving bowl, and no one uses them anymore, a gravy boat, custard, and it just made me think, of my grandparents. So here's the design. Isn't that adorable? Let me show you one of the plates. This is one of the little tea plates. This is what you put like either cake or sandwiches on. Goes right up to dinner plate size, and then the lovely serving bowl. So imagine this filled with stewed fruit, stewed apples, stewed plums, stewed blackberries, a jug full of custard. Oh, there's no bowls with this set. Anyway, the point is, I'd gone to find stuff for my shop, and it's funny because I was talking the other day about not doing impulse buying, and I generally don't. I mean, I just don't. However, I have had in the back of my mind for ages that I could probably do with a bit more crockery. only a little bit. I mean, I've ended up with a little bit. But you know what? What I could do is go through my other crockery now and think, is there stuff I can get rid of, share. So, that's where I'm starting out this evening. Get all of these bits washed, put away. But then, the reason I'm doing all this washing is because then... hang on a minute. This is a big one. Oh, yes, tomatoes. These were all green when I took them off the vines. When I had to, oh, pop that down again. When I had to destroy the plants because of blight. So, this is quite a typical, it's a very typical day at this time of year where I've been in the garden today, I filmed the, I keep wanting to say August, for goodness sakes, Vivi. Filmed the September tour, did a few bits and pieces whilst I was there, didn't spend a huge amount of time, maybe about 3 hours. Before I'd even gone to the garden, I was fulfilling some shop orders, getting parcels made, take them to the post office, responding to email inquiries, responding to messages on my Facebook page, etc, etc, etc. That takes 2-3 hours every single morning. So yeah, it's quite a typical day at this time of year where I'm doing all my usual daily stuff of, you know, the internet, social media stuff, post office, get to the garden, what do I need to do what I need to do, come home, edit, do my own personal stuff like I've just taken a load of washing out, hung it out, you know, the stuff we all do all the time, don't we? And then as we get into the evening, it's 7 o'clock now. I'm just now going to get all this washing up done, out of the way, so I can then start processing the tomatoes. Once they're in the oven, because they'll go into the oven for about an hour and a half, when they're in the oven, I can then get on with my accounts for August, because we've just finished August. There's other stuff to do, I can't remember. Oh, I've got a pile of darning to do. Sock darning, it does my head in. Why can't sock manufacturers make socks with really sturdy, you know that bit you always get on the end where your toes go? Why can't they make that way more sturdy? I mean, I keep my toenails short, but I still always poke holes in my toe bits. So yeah, there's going to be a pile of darning to do. Another job that I will get on with this evening is where I did find some new stock for the shop. I'm loving it. I absolutely love going on the hunt for stock for the shop. I did find some really nice things, a real mixture of things too. Some books, some kitchenware, a couple of bits of linens. Oh, the linens will take longer than this evening because they'll need to be soaked in stain remover. I use hydrogen peroxide. Then they'll need washing, then they'll need pressing, and then they'll need photographing. But yeah, for the rest of the evening, I will probably be cleaning the new shop stock, weighing it, measuring it, doing all of that and cataloguing it before, I think, in about 3 days' time. I'm trying to think about my schedule. In 3 days' time, I've got a little 3-4 hour window in the middle of the day when the light is good, so I can get it all photographed, and then that night, much later that night, I can get it uploaded. Anyway, yeah, so it's a very typical day. It started at about 7 o'clock this morning. It's 7 o'clock in the evening now. I am nowhere near done with my day. Nowhere near done. I'll probably keep cracking on till about midnight. It's fine. It's what I do. I'm happy. So, I didn't do a thoughts on for month 52 because just been really, really up against it with time, as always. But, you know, mostly, even when I'm up against it with the time, I'll try to set that sort of 30 minutes aside to actually do the videoing. I've just spotted, I've got to wash my backsplash. Oh my goodness, I've got tomato splashes on there. Actually, I was joking the other day with Jim from Lake Effect Gardener. We were talking about preserving our tomatoes. I think I've still got some tomato splats on my ceiling. And if I'm going to sell this joint next spring, actually I'm going to redo the whole kitchen. Scrub it to within an inch of its life and repaint, really freshen it up. I digress. Oh yeah, so month 52. I didn't do it, and I don't know, it was about the 29th of July I started thinking about it and trying to look at my schedule, where can I fit it in, because the filming of it only takes half an hour, or knowing me because I gabble on for 40-50 minutes. Let's say it takes an hour to film. The big thing is, it's the editing, the saving, the rendering, the uploading to YouTube, the YouTube edits that you have to do afterwards. It ends up being a 5-hour job, and I've just not been able to squeeze it in. And I was getting a bit stressy about it, to be honest. And then on the 31st, yesterday, I just said to myself, do you know what, Vivi? Honestly, you've got enough on your plate. Forget it. Just don't do it. It's fine. And I had in the back of my mind, if needs be, or not if needs be, but if at some point in these next few days in August, I feel like turning the camera on chatting, I will do. And that's what I'm doing this evening. Hopefully the focus is working and the light's okay, because I have it set up about 1.5 meters behind you. I've got that fantastic studio light that Richard and Paul gave me. Thank you, chaps. So yeah, didn't do month 52 thoughts on. And in a way, I'd like to be sitting down, concentrating and talking about it now, because I think it was quite an important month. In fact, I know it was an important month. I'm not going to say it was an epiphanic month, but it was definitely important, because while I was off sick at the end of July, I say off, when I say off I mean quarantining, staying at home. I didn't stop work. I spent those 2 chickenpox weeks of quarantine. I was being really, really productive. I had a load of vintage linens. I think in the end I did, oh squeaky squeaky, I think in the end I did 4 loads of washing, which all entailed sort of, pre-soaking, stain removing, then washing, and then of course the ironing. 4 loads of them, then get everything photographed, then get everything online. So it's a really, really productive time, but I was at home on my own. And let's just kind of skate over this next bit quite briefly. At the beginning of COVID, so 18 months or so ago, I put my hand up to be a volunteer for our mutual aid group locally. And essentially I was running around picking up prescriptions, dropping them off, doing a bit of grocery pickup, dropping it off. And it's gradually morphed into a bit more where, I should just say actually in April, when a lot of the lockdown measures were lifted, a couple of my elderly people, there was a woman and a man, both advanced in their late 80s, who both said to me, we love you, but we don't need you anymore, and we don't want to use your time up. Bless him. But I still had a couple of old chaps, one way into his 90s, and it's morphed into more than just doing shopping. It's turned into doing personal cares, let's just say adult nappies, adult pads, whatever we call it. And then I had my 2 weeks off sick with the pox. So all along with these families, I've had contact with their children who are slightly older than me. I'm sort of like a half generation between. I've had contact with them always to say, you know, your dad, your granddad, whatever, is doing great, don't worry, da da da. So when I found out I had chickenpox and I had to quarantine, I got in touch with a couple of them to say, I'm not going to be able to get there for the next 2 to 3 weeks because I'm infectious. And I was a bit surprised, taken aback that one family actually got the hump with me. That I was letting them down, even though they live in London. And I said, well, I can't, I'm not going to risk it, I'm infectious. And their answer was, well, just, you know, do the shopping and leave it on the doorstep. And I was like, hang on a minute, I'm ill. I don't feel well. And it really got me thinking about, you know, I want to help people. I always do, I really do. But then, you know, there was I at home for 2 weeks quarantining, and I didn't have any help. I didn't have anyone. I didn't even have people just even getting in touch to say, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Nothing. Now, in fairness, I didn't tell a lot of people because I don't want to annoy people. I don't want to put anything on them. But there were a few people who knew, people in my neighbourhood, and they didn't get in touch. They didn't say, do you need anything? Do you want anything? Can I help? Now, I'm not talking about my old people that I've been looking after, but it was a bit of a wake-up call in a way that, you know, for 18 months, I mean, you know, I'm always banging on about time. I'm always short of time. So to give up one whole day of every week to be looking after other people, and it's not just the giving up of the time and the day, because, you know, I love these people, I've been happy to do it, but it kills me knees, and, you know, I spend Monday nights on the sofa clutching my knees, crying, and, excuse me, and then Tuesday morning, I'm good for nothing. I need to start in on the tomatoes now. I'm pretty much good for nothing. And I just suddenly thought, this is crazy. This is really, really crazy, Vivi. It's good. It's really good to have a desire to help people. Of course it is. And I would implore all of us to do that. You know, if you are retired and have a pension and you don't need to work for your money, and you've got nothing to do all day, volunteer. And, you know, if you're out of work and you're on benefits and you don't have to do any work to get that money, volunteer. But if you work 7 days a week, 12, 14, 16 hours a day to just survive, then actually I'm the wrong kind of person to be giving up my time. I know it's selfish. It's so selfish and I hate it. I kind of hate it. I've really had a dilemma over it. But I decided, like I said, during that time when I was off with the pox, I suddenly felt really, you know, there is no such thing as karma. I've been doing all this good stuff for 18 months and now that I need help, I'm not getting it. So actually, you know what? So I made the hard decision, right at the end of July I made the decision, hang on, water pouring away, soapy water, oh no, I've got knives in there still. I made the decision to get in touch with the families to say, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. Everybody was completely fantastic about it and said, you know what, we've had way more than we expected from you, thank you, except for one family. There was this one woman, and she's maybe 4 years older than me, late 50s, and maybe even into like I'm not sure, lives 10 miles away. As a drive, it's maybe 40 minutes, there's a direct bus. She gave me a really hard time. And she said, I can't believe it actually. She basically said, well, what am I supposed to do? I work full time. Because I explained that her father, who is now 93, obviously I can't talk to names, I need to preserve dignity, she doesn't watch my channel anyway, but he's now 93 and I've basically been changing his bum for him. She said, what am I supposed to do? I work full time. And I said to her, well, I work full time too, just in a different way. I can't do it anymore, I'm sorry. And I gave all of these people a month's notice, as it were. Notice. I said, by the end of August, I can't do this anymore. You've got 4 more Mondays from me. That will give you ample time to sort out other care. And then she was like, oh, I can't do it because I work full time. And I said, well, you can just come on a Sunday. Come on your day off. Oh, but that's my day off. I need to rest. And thinking, all those years with Auntie Teapot, every time I had a day off, I went to her. Anyway, and that was a 6-hour round trip, not 40 minutes in a car. And then she complained that she'd have to get care in and that was going to cost her and she can't afford it. And I was trying to be reasonable on the phone with her. And then I suddenly thought, in the back of my mind, I suddenly, like this big voice sort of said, this is not my problem. Your dad is not my problem. You know, I've looked after my nan. You know, and then my aunt took her in. After that, I looked after my great aunt for the last however many years. I'm kind of, it's so selfish in one way, but you know what? I am done with looking after all the old people in my family. I'm done with wiping bums. I'm done with schlepping. I need a break. You know, I'm physically hurting. I need a break. So when she went on about money, it's going to cost, we haven't got the money for it, I just said, look, you know, there's all sorts of help out there. Google it, get in touch with the local council, but I am not going to be able to carry on doing this. And, you know, she gave me a really hard time and made me feel guilty. I put the phone down, I cried for half an hour, thinking, not about her, I don't think she's a nice person, but about him, the man. I said his name then. Because he's a sweetheart, he's an absolute sweetheart, and he deserves a lot of love and care and attention. Just not from me every week. However, I'm absolutely sure, I've already said this, that I will be popping in from time to time. I will take a cake and we'll have tea and cake of an afternoon. Yeah. I won't be baking the cake. I ain't got time for baking cakes, so I'll just buy one. Also, my oven's rubbish for baking. So yeah, I've gone a bit around the house, haven't I? But the bottom line is this, it's been since the middle of July to now, sort of 6-7 weeks later, I find it hard. But I'm having to say, you know what, I'm not doing brilliantly for myself, and I think this is what it boils down to, is when I was poorly there was no one to look after me, so it's obvious I have to look after myself, and so to look after myself I have to put myself first, and I hate that, hate it, but that's what I'm going to have to do. If after making sure that I'm okay, that I'm right with whether it's with my harvests, whether it's in terms of time for the garden or time on the sewing machine. I can't wait to get back to the sewing machine. But if after I've done all that, if I've got a little bit more left to give, of course I will give it to someone else. But I think what it shows is in the last 18 months, oh God, dust on my radio. My body's got worse in the last 18 months. And what I've been doing is I've been putting those people first, and then if there's something left, giving what's left to me. And that, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I know it's harsh and hard, but, you know, there we go. So I think one of the big things is moving forward. Yes, free myself up, and maybe, you know, nature abhors a vacuum. Part of me was thinking, right, on Mondays, that means I can have a whole day in the garden. But maybe I should say to myself, you know what, now your Mondays are free to just do nothing, just relax, read a book, put your feet up. I sound like such a selfish brat. Yeah, well, you know, yeah, going forward, try to look after myself a bit better. Listen, I'm happy. Don't ever get that wrong. I'm happy. I think it's my default setting is to be optimistic and annoyingly bouncy. I'd be really bouncy if my knees were fixed. But I've got quite an interesting journey. I hate the J word. It's such a TV word, isn't it? I've got quite an interesting journey ahead of me in the next year. In 1 year's time, I hope it's all done and dusted, but, you know, in terms of where I'll be in a year's time, hopefully it will be a ground floor flat, who knows, maybe a little bit of a garden. If there's enough of a garden to erect a greenhouse, I will be looking for a second-hand or free cycle greenhouse to put tomatoes in, to help protect them from blight. I mean, it's not a given, you can still get blight in a greenhouse, but generally, if we close all the doors and windows, we can keep blight away for a few more weeks. So yeah, it's get your thoughts straight. Everything is in transition at the moment. It all started, in a way, with getting the pox and having time to having time to myself to not only do work and do stuff like that, but to just think about, what have I been doing? What do I want to do? You know, in a way, this whole thoughts strand started way back, nearly 4.5 years ago now. It started as a way of me getting to the end of the month to look at how am I doing, A, without a wage, and B, in terms of feeding myself. So it's sort of like I've come full circle and I'm getting back to basics. How am I doing? How am I feeding myself? Well, I've rescued a few Tommies. I've rescued a few Tommies, so I'm feeding myself. But outside of just feeding myself, I recognise that it's all become a bit of a treadmill. It's almost like I've kind of re-entered the rat race, and that was never part of my plan. The whole point was to just simplify life, live off what I eat, do a bit of sewing, and that would be my life, and I'd be really happy. Like I say, I am happy, but life got a little bit more complicated, especially in the last 1.5 years. And obviously, you know, dealing with Auntie Teapot's death and her estate, and I need to, you know, there's very little money. She was a working class woman, so unlike that nasty comment I had from someone who said, oh, poor little rich girl who's inherited a vast estate, are you kidding me? It had almost all gone in paying for care. there's a little bit left, and I need to sort all that out and disseminate that between her nieces and nephews, which is my mum's generation. It's something I talked about with Teapot, that rather than trying to, she's got an extensive family. She's got nieces and nephews, my mum's generation. She's got great nieces and nephews. There's about, 20 of us. Then there's the great nieces and nephews, my generation's kids. To make it simple, it's just whatever money is left, give it to her nieces and nephews, my mum's generation. And if they so choose, they can pass it straight on to their kids or their grandkids, whatever. But I'm still dealing with that. But by the end of this year, that will be dealt with. My Mondays will be free again. The garden disasters of this year, they're behind. They're behind me already. Don't care. Done. Listen, the minute I got my grass paths trimmed and trimmed, I was like, yay, I'm back in the garden. I'm winning again. I don't care about everything else. I don't even care about the weeds, just so as my plants are sorted. So, yes, it feels like this month has been a little bit epiphanic, which also makes me want to giggle because it sounds rude. It's not rude. Say epiphanic to a 12-year-old, they'll laugh. Yeah, it feels like it's been a little bit of an epiphanic time. I've put some good stuff in place, and over the next year there's going to be a lot of change, a big change by moving home. But I feel like it's going to take me into the next chapter and set me up in the best possible way for another 10, 20 years, who knows how long. I'm so excited for it. I'm really excited for the next 12 months, the next 18 months. Fab. Right, I need to stop yakking. I need to dry up all these beautiful, how gorge. Start my dishes, get those out of the way, start chopping these tomatoes, preheat the oven. I'm going to be using Richard and Paul's easy peasy tomato sauce recipe. I won't be putting a mass of other stuff in with them to flavour them and kind of preserving that for other stuff, but the what are they called? The Stuttgart onions, which I planted 50, 44 rotted, 6 weren't. I'm using them up straight away because I don't trust them to not rot in storage. So they'll be added to these gorgeous toms. It's going to smell ridiculous. I'm going to be salivating at 1 a.m. Never mind that. Right, so for now I'm going to say cheerio to you all. So yeah, a bit of a different one for thoughts on. I've got no idea because I've got my specs on, so I can't even see this. Hang on a minute. Did it work? How was the focus? Yeah, bit different from sitting in my thoughts on corner. Thoughts on corner is blurry corner. I don't even need to think about the camera being wonky. So, yes, cheerio for now. I'll see you all again soon. It will no doubt be back in the garden. Excuse me. We're into that time of year now where it's harvest. Weeding and all the other maintenance. That can wait till October once most of the garden has been picked. Excuse me. Picked and stored. Great. Then I can tackle the weeds. I ain't bothered. I ain't bothered about weeds. I ain't bothered. I am a little bit. It's really what... I'm tired, I'm waffling, I need to go. So, thank you for hanging out with me in the kitchen for a rather late Thoughts On, month 52. But thank you for hanging with me whilst I got my washing up done and a little look at the tomatoes that are going to go into the oven shortly. I will see you again soon, but please, in the meantime, look after yourselves. And just ask yourself if you're putting yourself last too often. And if you are, you know what? I know it's really hard. Shake it up. Put yourself first for once. And Yeah, make tough decisions if you need to. Don't ignore it. If you're being eaten away at, don't ignore it, please. All right, gorgeosities. I'll see you soon. Cheerio.